So, Mike, as I understand it, there'll be brisket and pork butt and chicken available.
Not for you.
No, I was going to ask what line you will get in first.
All of it.
I don't. Just as a guy who works in a business, it seems like a nice thing to do for the employees, the guys. What's behind it, if I might ask?
Just looking after the guys. I mean, Wade can cook, so he's up there cooking all day yesterday.
Literally, when we left practice, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. You know, he puts a lot of energy into the group, right? He gives a lot of himself, so I think he's rare in that regard.
Yeah. Was there conversation on the field about the barbecue's a thing for guys in some way? There was not. Okay. How will you take in the game? How will the team take in the game? Is there a designated plan for the West Final?
Yeah, I mean, we'll show it here. We'll have some food and watch the game.
Kyrie Wilson in the jersey today, Brandon Alexander, are those guys possible for next week at the moment?
Yeah, there's some hope there, Yep, we'll see.
And then how is Jamal Woods doing after Montreal? And we saw him.
Yeah, we'll find out more at the beginning of next week. We'll get him moving around a little bit and see where he's at.
Hey, Coach.
Let's go.
Do you remember your first playoff game?
No.
Not at all. It's disappointing. That is disappointing.
Yeah.
And so do you remember it all, even nerves, giddy, what it was like even when in your playing days leading up to the playoffs?
I mean, there obviously in any of those situations, in not just playoff games, but every game, your body, your nervous system gets fired up, So you call it nerves, butterflies, whatever. It's just your body's way of getting you ready to fight or run, right? So, I mean, it's a pretty natural thing for most guys.
I'm just thinking about some of the guys who next week they're going to be making their playoff debut. It feels like maybe I know everybody says just another game, but it feels like it's pretty easy, natural, if you want to call it that, to get a little bit more up for, right, the win or go home, right?
Yeah, that's pretty natural, I'd say. Yeah.
I know that you talk about maybe you don't want to calm them down too much, but is that something that is there a way that you want to harness that potentially, or do you want to harness that, just them?
I think it's pretty hard to, I mean, if you spend any time talking about one particular thing, it's not probably relevant to a bunch of guys, right? I think they all handle these situations differently. By the time they get here, they've all played in big games. It's like, to all of them, it's very important, right? They all care, which is, a big starting point, obviously. They wouldn't be here if they didn't care. So I think the main point is for them to understand how they handle these situations, and that as long as they know how they deal with it, they're going to be fine.
That's all I got.
Just wondering how the vibe would compare BC or SAS coming in here for a West Final for you guys as a team.
Yeah,
Different?
I don't think it would be any different, no.
Okay. How about for the fans? You think that's a difference for them?
Yeah, it's a great question for them, yeah.
What do you sense? You talk to them a lot?
Well, I'm sure, knowing our fans, they'll be ready for whoever shows up.
Yeah.
And that's an important piece for us, right? These guys, these fans are fantastic. They do great work. They are always loud. I've said all along they're very intelligent. They know when they can possibly affect the game and when they shouldn't. And so it looks like it's going to be a sellout too. I'm sure it is.
6-12 in 1993 for Hamilton. I'm surprised you made the playoffs. You're second in the East. That was your first playoff game. If you played that rookie year,
Yeah, I did.
you would have won the East semifinal against the Riders and then lost to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
I remember that one.
20-19.
I remember that one. It was -15, -20. We had a field goal to win it at the end, and it was just into such a big breeze. It was right on line, but the wind kept it out. Yeah. You asked about the first playoff game. It was the second one.
That was the second. I wanted to ask you about Canadian talent. First year ever that a Canadian's led the league in rushing, Canadian led the league in receiving. I'm wondering if that's a coincidence. I know there's been talented Canadians for a long, long time, or if it maybe says something a bit more about where we're at with Canadian talent in this league.
Well, I think we've always had talented players, Canadian players in this league. For those stats to pile up, obviously, you pretty well have to play a full season, and you have to be excellent the whole season. So both those guys have shown that they are available, they're durable, and they're excellent at what they do. But there's a whole line of guys that are capable of those type of stats and leading the league in whatever it is, whatever category it is. But yeah, I think our Canadian talent across North America has never been better.
On that note, you're right. There's been stars, from Canada for decades in this league.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the new crop of Canadians that come into this league every year. You take a close look at the draft. You mentioned Canadian talent, it's best it's ever been. That I imagine that extends all the way through. Guys that you bring into special teams, guys.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering
Across the board, these guys can all play, and they're, whether. I think we do a pretty good job at trying to give guys as much opportunities as possible, but I imagine, there's probably some very talented players that just don't get the same opportunity necessarily to showcase all their talents. But yeah, I feel great about all these guys we bring in, and all these guys across the entire league. I'm always amazed at how good these athletes are and how well they play the game of football.
You obviously aren't shy to start Canadians, play Canadians. Ratio be down for you mostly, and you win that award every year for Canadian snaps. Was there, because I hear a lot about opportunity and philosophies from coaches. We know, particularly American coaches come in, there can be some stereotypes or opinions about Canadian players. Was it important to you that you just, didn't have that line? I mean, of assessment of players. Like, did you always kind of come in and view Canadians and Americans as equals when you were playing?
If they can play, once again, I think it starts with a great coaching staff that are really all in on the idea of what players can do and not what they can't do. And so you're always, no matter where a player comes from, you're treating them the same. You're always trying to see what they can do for the team, right? And you're always trying to put them in great positions to be successful. That's what a coach's job is, really. So we got a great group of coaches that are all in on those ideas, and they're just always putting guys in good positions and finding more that players can do, and then coaching them on anything that they need work on, no matter what their nationality or where they come from, right? Globals included.